Yes, matters.
It matters. Oh, Lordy. Oh, good golly. We're actually live right now?
We are, but I mean, it hasn't, we're 5 minutes early, but.
But it's filming?
So when you see this thing, so this is the timer. So if you want to know how long we've been on, so basically we don't really want to go more than an hour 5.
I feel
but
like
keep in mind that it's 5 minutes. It'll be 5 minutes ahead.
I feel like I'm under the interrogation lights.
Well, we need to be lit up. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. All this
I'm
is
lit
going to
up.
be recorded. This is, there's a couple people in here. Well, there's at least one other person.
Welcome.
Welcome, whoever you are. We're a little early.
All are welcome.
Oh, boy.
What's that from?
Ooh. Children
Little
of the Corn?
movie trivia. Wrong.
Oh, no. Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. These chairs will be comfy for an hour.
Oh, boy. I'm already tired.
That's no worse than our couch,
sleepy.
I guess.
We're usually in bed by now.
Yeah. This is cutting into our bedtime.
Oh, no.
Greg's turn.
It's Greg's turn.
What the? Oh.
I can't read that. What is HB?
Is the B, bro?
What the heck, bro?
Got the Stern Zone here. At least one of them.
Is it just Craig?
That's what I thought. Okay. Welcome. I don't know.
Welcome,
I don't know
Craig.
what to talk about. You're on before 6. Yeah. We just want to make sure it would work.
Oh, so you can read all the
get
questions.
the lighting going. Well, I can see it, but if I'm talking, it'd also be helpful if you could help me. It's Craig, Nikki, and Kenna. Wow, welcome, Kenna.
Hey, yeah, I can't read.
So
I was gonna try to read the questions on my phone.
You'd
but
have to maybe just go straight to the chat or something, which I don't even know how to do that.
That's not happening.
So forgive me, I'm not gonna launch into a conversation yet because I don't want people to come in a couple of minutes and say I missed a bunch.
It's starting at 6, right?
Yeah, we're still a couple minutes early, maybe 2 minutes.
Shots.
Oh boy.
I had one. I had a little
Did
vodka
you
shot.
have like a regular drink or just a little? You're done with it already?
Yes.
Oh.
I wolfed it.
Wolf it.
Wolf it. What's that from?
Greg knows.
Come on,
well,
Greg.
Well, I think he would know that one. The party's all here. Craig's hogging up the chat.
I got my blankie.
Craig's blowing up our chat.
You might as well start talking.
Well, there's about 8 people here. We might start. I'll start. It's almost 6. I'll start in a minute or so.
We had a leak. Are we gonna talk?
Oh yeah, I can talk about some.
We spurned the leak.
Things. So hopefully this. It does mean that our kind of water catchment project, which we're beginning right now, is perfect timing because out in front of the trailer here, which has happened before, there is a wet spot on the ground. And it's exactly...
It was 16 candles, by the way. You forgot to say that.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Okay.
Wolf it.
So
there's a wet spot on the ground out front. And, Craig said, you're dozing. So
I look like Elaine when she goes, Stella!
Carly M?
All right, I'll shut up now.
Do you know who Carly M is? Should I know who Carly M is?
I have seen her on my Tiny channel. Hi, Carly. Hi, Thora. Is that? I'm sorry, I'm blind, y'all.
Feel free to say hi to anybody while I'm talking, but
I'm sorry. Go.
Just to give people a minute to filter in. People have been filtering in and out.
The office.
So, just to give people a minute, like I said, there's a wet spot out front on the ground, and that means that our it's where the T is. There's a T for our water system in front of the house or in front of the RV, where it breaks off to the spigot that we're connected to on the RV, and there's a spigot over by kind of our garden area. So it tees right there at that spot. And I can't remember how long ago it was, probably a year or so. maybe more actually, because we had a rock delivery. Whenever that was a while ago, right?
2 years ago.
And the force of the truck driving over that spot, which at the time I did not know what was in that spot. But when that rock truck left, I noticed that there was literally water bubbling up out of the ground.
Oh, hey, Bill.
And I dug it all up.
Hey, Yvonne.
And Yvonne. So I dug it all up. It could have been 2 years ago. I don't remember how long ago it was, and kind of replaced everything in that little T section because it had been jolted, I guess. So that is happening again right now. Now it's not bubbling. So what it tells me is there's a little leak there. It could have to do with our freezing temperatures that we get overnight. But I don't know. But I don't really want to go super crazy to fix it. As long as it doesn't start shooting out of the ground, I'm probably going to just let it leak a little bit. What are you laughing at?
Nikki's
She's getting side comments. No side comments, Nikki.
Nikki's sending me texts.
No side comments.
I'm not allowed to look at
share it with the room. Anyway.
Oh, she can't share it. She can't share
don't share that with the
room.
Not
appropriate.
So anyway, that's happening out front right now. So we've just FYI, I just received a rock delivery today. Now that water spot was there before the rock truck came. We got a small amount. We've got 5. It was not appropriate. We got 5 tons of pea gravel today to put down as a base for our water tanks. We're going to start with 2 water tanks. We'll probably end up at 3, potentially even 4, but we'll see if we can get away with 3. 2,600 gallon tanks. So we're setting that up right now. It'll be next to the carport. If you've been watching the carport build, I should just put out the last. I may do one more video as a kind of a time lapse from start to finish, but I just kind of put out the video that completes the carport, and those tanks will be right next to the carport. One, to make it easy to feed into those, and it also will be a spot that's right between the carport and the house. There'll be kind of the house and the carport will be kind of be in line, and the tanks will be right in between them. So one, that'll kind of hide them a little bit, and 2, it makes the access easy from the roofs. So we're in the middle of that project right now. Like I said, we dug a flat spot for them. We got the rock delivery today. I have to spread that over and get it all level. Wow.
I had to get it.
And then the tanks are coming next week. So we'll start out with 2 tanks connected.
Do you know what day they're coming?
Wednesday is the delivery scheduled for. So I'll get started with what we're here to talk about, even though that's part of it. But welcome. We're going to try and do this. The goal is to try and do this every Wednesday, make this kind of a regular thing. And for us, it's to discuss every aspect, basically, of our house build.
So I probably won't be talking very much.
If you,
I don't know.
If you did, I know what she'll be saying a lot. When's it going to be done?
I've been painting a lot. That's all I've been doing.
If you didn't know, we're going to be building straw bale. We've been settled on that for quite a while, and we feel pretty confident with that. But there were a lot of things bouncing around in my head, a lot of questions, a lot of things that I didn't feel comfortable with. If you know me, that's really normal. But recently I've started to kind of nail down a couple of things that I think I'm comfortable with as far as kind of how we're going to do it. So we figured it was time to start talking about it. And I learned from, hey, there's Jared.
Oh, hey, Jared.
Do you guys have an Amazon page? Good question, Jared. We do. It's actually linked, at least in our most recent videos. I have to go back to some of the older ones, but there is a link in
not on mine.
In all of our recent videos
Midlife
for our Amazon affiliate page. Good call, Jared. Jared's been using it a bunch. Thank you. But
thanks, Jared.
So what I learned from the carport build was, and I didn't intend to do this, but if you didn't know, when I started putting out the carport videos, the carport was already done. So what happened was, as I put out those videos and people gave some comments, I got some really good advice in those comments, but I was already finished, so I couldn't really take advantage of that advice. So nothing major. I don't think the thing's going to fall over or anything, but I might have done a couple things differently. So I wanted to include people in our discussion, in our thought process for our house, kind of from start to finish, to see if anybody says, hey, that's dumb, that's crazy, you should try this, you should try that. I'm sure we'll get a ton of that. Some of it'll fit, some of it won't. That's all right. But this is to kind of give people a chance to do that. We'll, of course, still keep making videos along the way too, but this is more to kind of have a back and forth, or have people bring their questions to us, or maybe some ideas to us, and we can talk about them sort of real time and give you an idea of our thoughts week to week and what we're focusing on, what we've learned or haven't learned, or decided or haven't decided. So that's the goal of this. We're going to try and stick to this time as long as it's not a bad idea, but I think it's going to be all right. So 6 p.m. Wednesdays, Arizona time. And, I don't know, whatever it takes, if it's 20, 30 minutes or if it's an hour, that's all. It's all good. So do you have anything to say?
What if I have to add? What if I have to go to the bathroom?
You will have to go to the bathroom. That is not a question. So
that's a given.
You will need to excuse yourself. So just to start out, some people are going to know this stuff, but in case you didn't know, number one, we're building straw bale. We decided that a while back, and we like that decision still. So we've been here for almost 3 years. Sounds like a really long time. It is a really long time not to have built a house yet, but we have observed a ton, and we've thought a ton, as I love to do.
He's researched,
and we've researched a ton.
And read.
Yeah, and part of that time is just you go into survival mode every once in a while. We've had our issues here that we've documented with the trailer and other things, but we've come to some conclusions. So, and it took a while to get there, but it's a pants party.
They said, or Jared said, that they're all together, Craig and Nikki and Kenna, and he's not.
I'm with Craig. He
is not.
He is down the street.
He lives down the street.
Okay. But sidetrack. So we've been thinking for a long time, so we have built a shed, a good size shed, and a carport, so some pretty permanent structures, even though, of course, in the beginning we submitted a site plan and everything to the county and we got our permits. But as everybody knows, that's a goal, right? So you might monkey with that after you do it. You don't know the day you put that on paper necessarily that's how it's going to work out. So with all of our erosion that's happened around here and things, we've gone back and forth about where things should be and whether we should maybe move something or change something. And
hey, Jim.
Hey,
Jessica.
So we finally come to the conclusion. I tried to find out how to share my screen on this live, and I don't think I can do it in our current state. I guess you need to use some of the software to do it, and we don't use any of the software, so I don't think I can share my screen, but I'll try and give you an idea. And anybody who's ever been out here or seen our property on videos, hopefully you can get a sense of kind of how where things are going to go. So we're in our trailer, kind of central on the property. It's sort of at the bottom of our little hill that we call our poor man's drone, where we kind of at the end of all our videos, you see that kind of panning shot.
Poor man
across our
drone footage
property.
I call it Micah Mountain. But
so
it's not really
the trailer is at the bottom of that mountain. The carport now is also kind of at the bottom of that mountain. The carport is just behind the trailer now, to the south of the trailer, and that's permanent. So what we've decided, so that carport is at the bottom of the mountain, and what we've decided is our house will be essentially right next to that carport, with the exception of some water tanks in between, which I just talked about. So I'm going to steal your bales.
Who said who's going to steal?
So it's going to be one thing that kind of kickstarted us here. And I mean, not that I haven't thought about it for long enough, but when we built the carport, and I've said this a little bit before, I might have said it even in some of the carport videos, that the carport gave us a sense. I didn't even think about it at the time, but it happened to work out to be about the size that we want our house to be, or at least once we put the carport up, or the corners of the carport up, we realized that was about the size we wanted our house to be, because we started to walk around inside of it. Once we got the 4 corner posts up, we started to walk around inside that carport and say, what if, right? What if this was the house? What if this was the size? And not that we haven't thought about sizes and layouts before, but this was a little more concrete. There was something there, and you could walk around in that space. So we started to talk about where things would go and how big they would be and stuff like that. So with the help of our good friend Craig, We drew it on paper. We have a bombshell for Craig. We've made a recent kind of, we think, change.
Hi, Off-Grid Simple Living.
Hello. Welcome everyone new. House question. Oh, we got a question. You didn't tell me. Have you made confirmation on a second bedroom? Okay, that's where I was leading.
I thought you were looking at it.
Thank you, Jared. Well, I'm not.
We're gonna have to get used to what we're supposed to do.
So Craig drew while we talked. Craig drew our house on paper, on graph paper, and we kind of put everything to real size, and we put real size things, how big's a bed, how big's a couch, how big's a, shower, stuff like that. And we started filling the space. And the going in point was 2 bedrooms,
Brian Stern,
1 bathroom. Hi, Brian. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. And actually in the beginning, and again, with no real sense of how big that space really was, the going in point, we actually were on the fence about, 1 or 2 bathrooms, 1 or 2 bedrooms. It was all like, what will fit, what will work. We don't really know.
I wanted 1,500 square feet.
So
I'm not getting it.
You don't want 1,500 square feet.
No.
So one of the early things we did was we kind of compromised on the bathroom, and we've talked about this before. We want an outdoor bathroom, and that'll be our second bathroom. Number one, in Arizona, it's just practical, right? It's nice, actually, to have an outdoor shower and bathroom. It's not bad for a good part of the year. Yes, Pam. You had a question.
If there's a question, am I supposed to tell you? Like, I'll say,
you can
hit my knee
and stop me at the next opportunity.
Jim asked a question.
What do you ask?
I can't see. What will you do with the trailer?
We're actually going to get rid of our trailer once the house is built, or
sell it. We'll sell it.
Maybe not right away, but one of the things I was going to talk about here today, when we talk about timing, I'll get to the trailer. But ultimately, yes, the trailer. We're going to get rid of our trailer. We're going to sell the trailer. And that's not. I mean, everybody has a different opinion on kind of what they'll do with it if they live in a trailer while they build. What they'll do afterwards. But we are going to sell ours, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. So we early on kind of decided, hey, 1 bathroom inside is enough. We'll have this secondary outdoor bathroom, and it'll be used a lot at certain times a year. And it can be kind of the guest bathroom, or the only thing it doesn't really accommodate is, middle of the night bathroom, basically, because it's outside. So, but other than that, it's enough for a second bathroom. Do you jump in if you want to say anything?
Well, he said Nikki needs a guest bedroom, but we are going to make it separate.
So that's the other thing.
Casita?
So once we drew the house on paper, and then I actually then transferred that to SketchUp, which I was going to try and share that here, but I couldn't. But once I transferred it to SketchUp and I started to actually draw the walls, I kind of started to draw it in 3D. Now, it might be misleading because it's on a computer screen, but as soon as we drew it on paper, as soon as Craig drew it on paper, it felt cramped to get. So what we were drawing on paper was 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a living area, and a kitchen, and that was it. So it was tight. So just so everybody knows, we're looking at 30 by 24, so 30 wide or long by 24 deep, and that's actually, like I said, that was the dimensions of the carport corner posts. So it just made sense to kind of put it in that ballpark, and then we wanted to see where that put us if we started drawing the rooms inside. And what happened was the kitchen got kind of squeezed into a corner, and we didn't like that. Again, of course,
small enough.
It'll be bigger than this kitchen, right? Anything's going to be nice, but it still looked and felt, especially with it just laid out that there was kind of a bathroom next to the kitchen, which means a floor-to-ceiling wall, which made it just feel kind of closed in. It looked and felt closed in. So we were talking with somebody recently, I can't remember who it was, and we had this thought long ago, actually, and kind of forgotten about it. But the idea of a second bedroom being more of a casita, a separate outside, and there's a lot of nice
Awesome
things
Arizona.
about that. Hello, Awesome Arizona.
Hello.
There's a lot of nice things about that. Number one, anytime you can build a structure kind of after the fact, let's say after permit or whatever, right? If you keep it under 200 square feet, you can kind of do whatever you want. There's no permits, there's no issues or whatever. So if we just built a room that was really only going to house a bed and maybe a toilet, probably bucket toilet. That's just easy, right? I mean, it's easy to do after the fact. Again, you could argue that, that's an inconvenience of that room being outside, but I mean, you could make the same argument that it's actually nice that it's outside, because another issue we had when we were cramming these rooms inside this box, and yeah, we could have grown the box, but where do you stop? But as we were cramming these rooms in, there were concerns about, sound, between rooms and things. And my concern always has been, now everybody's different. Everybody's going to have different number and frequency of guests. But, yeah, we love to have people over, and there's a handful, and they're even on this call, on this live, that do come visit us, and we want them to continue coming to visit us. But in the grand scheme of things, 90+% of the time, it's just the two of us. So the reality, I'm not a big fan of building to accommodate something that is a small portion of the usage. A bucket.
Uncivilized.
Uncivilized bucket.
Where's Taylor
yes.
and Melissa?
So, and that was kind of my argument for the second bathroom thing. And it's a good point. Jim brings up a good point. Bucket toilet versus flush toilet. Pam and I have no problem with a bucket toilet. We've been doing it now for quite a while.
Who is it? Oh, hey, Scott, Sherry.
Hey, Scott. And maybe
bucket.
Sherry.
Hey, speaking of bucket toilets.
Speaking of bucket toilets.
Yeah, Sherry's going to have to learn how to use the bucket toilet.
So there's several people on here who want to pay close attention to the discussion about second bedroom and second bathroom, because there's several of our future visitors on here. Anyway. It's not that I don't want to accommodate my guests, but at the same time, the reality is the majority of our time is just the two of us. And I don't want to build a house to accommodate something and then have that space be sort of a dead space or whatever. We did talk about that second bedroom being sort of an office, and we probably would use it that way. But again, to have walls and to accommodate everything got real tight. So we think we've recently come to the conclusion that we want to pull that second bedroom out of the house. We'll have it, but it'll be right outside. We can build it whenever we want. We can build it whatever way we want.
We're still going to have a Murphy bed for.
Still love the idea.
In the
of
meantime,
Murphy bed.
until we what do you say? What am I trying to say?
For guests.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah,
just for now.
I mean, we'll still have an office area, a computer area in the house, and everything. And we love the idea of a Murphy bed / desk. If you've ever seen. It's more than a Murphy bed, right? It doesn't just fold down to a bed and then fold up. It actually has a desk on it as well. And those two things work together when they move, and you can actually leave your desk intact. We had one of those in our house before we came here. We've since passed it along to Craig and Nikki, but we love it. And I have plans to build one like it. We plan on doing that. And we sleep on it when we visit. But so that is a recent development. We believe we have backed off from 2 bedrooms to 1 bedroom. Craig and Nikki might not be happy to hear that, but at the same time, they'll have their own room out there, and they can bounce off the walls if they want. So in a way, it's better, right? So there's pluses and minuses to everything. But I'm now kind of working to sort of rearrange our layout. Which, so I said we'd talk about size and layout. So like I said, we started at 30 by 24 for the size of our house. And what is it?
Whatever, Craig.
So
he wants to build his own house.
So we started at 30 by 24.
Go ahead.
And we basically we're now basically just breaking that in half, where half of that is going to be bedroom, bathroom, and the other half is going to be living space, kitchen.
Yes, so Jared, 1 bedroom only.
Yes, but a bedroom outside. So 2 bedroom, ultimately. And in the meantime, we'll accommodate inside. But
we're gonna sell the trailer just because we don't want to have to mess with it, and it'll get full of mice.
So yeah,
why don't you turn that down or something?
Yeah. So a couple people now have asked about the trailer, and I get this question all the time about what about the trailer, and can't the trailer just be a guest house? So that's obviously the trailer as a guest house is a thought and an option for those that want it. I personally don't like the idea of the trailer being a guest house in the future. There's a couple reasons. Number one, those of us who've lived in a trailer know that they take energy. If someone wants to come visit in the summer, that's a lot of air conditioning. So you're either going to be running a generator constantly to accommodate those people in that trailer, or they're going to be taking a lot of your electricity, or in our case, solar electricity. to accommodate those people in that trailer. And then there's water and all the other things that go along with that. Number two, in the desert, especially, but really anywhere, I would think, any structure.
It's Mom.
Hi, Mom. Any structure / residence / whatever that sits. So imagine we've now moved out of the trailer, right? And we're in the house.
I have to see something.
Now fast forward 2, 3, 6 months, right? This thing, without anyone living in it, maybe you feel differently.
Billy!
But, hey, Billy.
That's Billy's tent trailer.
I think this thing turns into, a rodent den,
mobile,
basically, right? If we don't live here. Obviously, there's activity in here all the time, and that's a big, I think, detractor for rodents. But if we did not live in this, it would be really hard to keep it clean, keep the rodents out, stuff like that. So
I'm not.
That's just a headache I don't want any part of. So we used to wonder if we would keep the trailer and kind of travel for ourselves, but you still have the same issues. I don't really want to tow it. I don't really want to. It's old. And I think it'll turn into just a heap of junk after we move out of it. If we keep it here, so
at nighttime, it sounds like the slide out is going to just fall out.
So we are not.
I think it's going to.
So we are not planning for those reasons. We're not planning.
Have you had pack rats yet? We almost did in the truck.
We have had
something started
experience with pack rats.
Something started to build a nest, and we cleared it out. And
yeah, pack rats were nesting in our truck.
We got those little flashy things. Did that seem to help?
Yes, that for the moment. And this has been for quite a while now, but I hope it doesn't change, because they say sometimes that the rodents will get used to your methods of deterrent. But we have one of the kind of the under the hood, connects to the battery. It flashes and it has a high frequency sound as well. And we have those on both the car and the truck, and we've never seen any pack rat activity since.
Oh,
and we did have pack rat activity.
We tried mothballs, and they don't.
We tried mothballs; it didn't bother them at all. We tried lights.
It bothered me worse than the pack rats.
I do think lights help, but I was plugging in a light and turning it on every night, and then unplugging it and moving it all the time when I would drive away and all this stuff. The nice thing about those under the hood things is you just kind of put them in there and you forget about them. So they don't draw a lot. We've never had really a dead battery issue, knock on wood, from those little things being connected all the time. So hopefully we're beyond that problem. And I would recommend that solution to anybody who's got that problem. And if you don't have that problem and you live kind of out in the sticks, you probably will have that problem.
Brian Stern asked something. Something. Can you read it? When you get your house,
up, you can move your trailer to Rocky Point.
I would love to do that.
But we have a condo in Rocky Point.
Yeah, we would have to pay to park it. We would have to pay to tow it there.
I don't know if
too much.
I don't know if he's being serious or not. But
probably not.
So back to the house. So what we're looking at right now, oh gosh.
You're distracted, aren't you?
You're distracting me. So
I have to go to the bathroom. I'm leaving.
So as I said, we drew the 30 by 24. We shoved in 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living area. So now pulling out the second bedroom, which was a decent size, even trying to make it kind of as small as you could make it. It really opens things up. I'm actually thinking now, I have to kind of get into my SketchUp drawing and see how things look, but we might actually be able to shrink that total structure while still getting more space, like in the kitchen. The kitchen was the main thing that really bothered me. It looked really small and cramped. So we may actually slightly shrink the entire structure, because again, every square foot, not that I want to be cramped in and this worries Pam, but I'm not trying to cram us into this thing. I'm not trying to build a house that we're going to hate. That's not the goal. We do want to be able to move around and everything, but every square foot costs money, right? That's materials, that's heating and cooling, you don't want to make it. That's one of the reasons we're here, is because you don't want to make it bigger than you have to. We had a 1,700 square foot house that we didn't use half of. So I'm thinking through that right now. So that's, as far as layout, that's kind of covers the size. We were at 30 by 24. We might go slightly smaller. I don't imagine we could go much smaller than that, but that puts us right around 7 and change, 720 maybe square feet. So we might go slightly smaller, but maybe not. As far as layout, as far as where things sit, so we will be, kind of the way the trailer is situated on the land. We'll be kind of long ways, facing south, which is the best use of the sun, the natural path of the sun and things. So obviously we'll have more windows and probably a big door, probably a double door on the south side. That double door may or may not become our main entrance. I don't know, because the carport's off to the side. We'll have to see how we kind of walk into the house, but we'll probably have a regular, front door coming up the driveway. The driveway approaches from the north. So we'll have a front door there, few windows on the north side, probably a window or two, a couple of windows on the east side, which, by the way, our views are also to the north and the east. We'll get that morning sun, probably not too big of a deal for us. But then when the sun gets up high, we'll have windows on the south that can take sun in the winter, but yet when the sun is higher overhead in the summer, not get in at all. We'll probably have very few, if any, windows on the west side. It turns, we had this discussion recently, whether we put windows or not really doesn't matter because of the way we've situated everything else. So on the west side of the house is going to be those water tanks and the carport beyond that. So even if there was a window over there, it wouldn't really have any kind of view. It might let a little light in, not direct, but a little light in. So we could put a small window on the west side, but no plans to necessarily.
If I do this, that means
Yes.
There's a question.
What do you got?
Somebody asked if we put how big the house was going to be on the building permit.
We did. I think when I put on
700?
our permit, I think I put 600 square feet.
Oh.
But that permit stuff, I mean, it's not etched in stone. I don't think again, which, by the way, I'll bring up recent information on permits in case people didn't know this. We've talked about the permit process before, and so have others. I think it's fairly well known for a lot of people on this call. And if you don't
I don't want to put my glasses on, Craig.
That's good point, Craig.
I look like,
if you don't know, there's plenty of videos out there. You can look at some of ours or some of others that talk about that stuff. But one thing I learned recently, I've been saying for a while that I want to talk to some people and meet with someone in Benson. I didn't actually meet with somebody, but I did talk to somebody on the phone. I just wanted to confirm some of the process of the actual, when they come and inspect, when you're done. And what I learned, which I thought I kind of understood, but I wanted to make sure, I didn't want to call them up, when I was done and have them say, well, you were supposed to call us such and such for this or whatever. So they did confirm that they really don't care until the end. They did say they would do, if you requested, they would do 2 inspections. They would do a first inspection that is basically if you stake things out, they'll come out and verify that you're good on your setbacks, which is one of the main things they care about, are setbacks from your property lines and from washes and things like that. They care where you're placed. So because of things like pouring a concrete foundation and stuff like that, obviously you don't want to go down that road if you've picked a bad spot. So if you ask them to, they will come out and do an inspection on where you're proposing to put your structure. The guy said that was optional. He said, if you feel comfortable that you're not violating anything and you don't want to call us about that, that's perfectly fine. Then after that is the final inspection. When you're done, you call them, and all they care about, so he confirmed, all they care about is setbacks from washes and property lines, height. So they don't want anything higher than 30 feet. We're not getting anywhere near that. And lighting, exterior lighting. So Tucson, and I guess here too, I don't know if the rules are slightly different, but if you ever heard of anything called dark skies, basically they're fighting light pollution. So they have limits on the kind of how much lighting you can have, whether it's shielded or unshielded. Basically they just don't want a bunch of light going up into the sky. They like to keep it dark. So those are the 3 things that they're going to care about. And I even asked him if he said he wanted to see the lighting, the exterior lighting. And I said, does it have to be operational? And he said, no. So I may call them again and press them further on things like septic and stuff like that, or whether they care. But basically he said they don't need to come into the house. Plumbing and electrical don't really care. So I do want to kind of press a little further on plumbing to know whether they're really going to look at anything plumbing wise. But basically, it sounds like if you got 4 walls and a roof, and you call them out, they'll check it, and you're good to go. So I did learn that recently. I had that phone conversation. So I said I was going to do that for a while. I think somebody asked about some dimensions. Now, like I said, unfortunately, I haven't redrawn it yet. But we had when we had 2 bedrooms in the place, we basically had our master at, I can do some counting. Do you want to talk at all? 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, I don't. I really don't. I mean, I don't care what you do as long as you get it built, and I'll help.
It looks like our master is in the neighborhood of 13 by 13, 12 or 13. Pretty square. The bathroom we have drawn up is pretty minimal, although it kind of matches the bathroom, actually, our guest bathroom in our house. Pam was looking at it, and it looks, on paper, it looks small and cramped, but it really does kind of match the guest bathroom we had in our house. And it's basically just space for a shower, a toilet, and a sink.
That's pretty small.
And it's basically, it's 5 by 8.
If you can make that a tiny bit bigger, that would be
maybe
great.
We'll add a foot or so here or there, but again,
because that bathroom was tiny.
I don't want us to be uncomfortable, but at the same time, how much time do you spend a day in a bathroom? So and then the living space is actually pretty good size.
Thank you, Chris.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh,
7,
and thank you.
8,
Thanks,
9, 10,
Shirley,
12, 13,
for
14.
The
living
your
space.
mom said my hair looked better short, or looked good short.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. The living space is a little tough because it doesn't actually have a wall until you get to the bedroom. So there's almost a little bit of a walkway, sort of hallway, even though it's not designated with a wall. But it's a good 14 by 14 or so square. So it's pretty good size, with really all that's in it is kind of a couch and a coffee table or something. So not a lot there. We do have a pretty good size bar table, which is kind of our kitchen table. It was our kitchen table at our house.
So it'll be like
and it'll kind of sit in between, and we'll treat it almost, like kind of like an island and a table. And it'll kind of hover in between the kitchen and the living space because that area is open anyway. So, but the kitchen on this drawing is, I guess by dimensions, it's maybe a good 10 feet. It's sort of an L on this picture. And in case you're, you won't be able to see it real great here, but that's the drawing that Craig drew. Thanks, Craig. But on this drawing was basically master bedroom, guest bedroom, and then out here is living space and kitchen and bathroom. So since we've drawn this, and it's got like south and everything, we've actually kind of flipped it over. So as far as layout goes, we've also tried to. So after we drew that, I kind of flipped the dimensions flipped the rooms for a couple of reasons. Number one, we realized that we had the bedroom, we had our bedroom or the guest bedroom. We had the guest bedroom and bathroom and kitchen along our south wall, which, as you know, in the winter, that's when you're going to want the sun coming in to kind of warm the house. But kitchen and bathroom and bedroom generally wouldn't have a big window, and that sun wouldn't reach a big living space to be able to kind of warm up. So that didn't make a lot of sense that there was sort of small, those would be small sort of windows on that side. Also, that being the wall where water needs to come in and go out. It made more sense to have, if you know our property. If you don't know our property, this will be hard to tell, but on the north side would be better for what I call our wet wall, to have the water, because our septic is kind of to the north of the house. It's north and west, but it'll put those rooms closer to the septic. It'll put, whether we use it or not, or how much we use it. And also the way we're setting up our water tanks, I believe will be closer access for our water. So we kind of flipped that for a couple of reasons.
I don't think that he really talked about it, but there's closets on each side of the bed.
There were some closets, some closet space on each side of the master bed, and there was a closet in that guest bedroom. But if we're pulling that guest bedroom out, there will be a lot of kind of maybe bench type areas up against walls that might open up into storage, and or kind of floor to ceiling or actual closets or not pantry, but like linen type closets, I guess.
It'll be more than we have
a bunch of those
now, which is nothing.
Sure.
We have a cabinet for folded clothes, and we're going to have tons of space.
Mom asked if you're actually going to have closet space. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, everything will be a step up from this, right? But I'm constantly fighting that battle of, well, even though it's better than this, is it good enough? What I don't want to make it so sparse, so small, so bare
that we have to
we
live
don't like
it for
it,
a long
right?
time.
So
we don't want to hate it.
So, but
washer,
but I don't want to waste space.
Outside.
Billy asked about a washer. So yeah,
I don't like that.
Well,
it sounds like I'm going to have to make some. It doesn't really matter though, because I have no washer right now.
I guess we could potentially change that, but my plan is to put a washer in our shed, which is pretty good size. And if you think about it, we hadn't planned from the beginning. We hadn't planned from the beginning on having a dryer, mostly because of the energy it would take. And that means that even if you had a washer inside, you'd be going out to hang the clothes to dry. So I don't think getting the washer inside really buys you anything, because you then have to take the clothes out to dry anyway.
That means that I would have to make a trip out. I would have to carry the clothes, and if I'm already in the house, it just sounds like a real
It's
pain.
not like we do laundry,
Ever.
Yeah. Every 2 days, we'll be doing like a load or two a week.
I don't think Pam likes it.
So,
no, Pam does not like it.
We'll see about that.
Pam doesn't get everything she wants,
especially with the extra bedroom going away. It's not that there wouldn't be space for a washer, but I don't think it's worth the space in the house myself. But we'll see. So that's a little bit on size and layout. Unfortunately, I touch the table sometimes and rock the camera.
I know. I told you not.
Unfortunately, we actually just changed our mind like a few days ago, so I can't give you hard numbers on size and layout. But that's the logic on size and layout. So to talk timing a little bit, we talked, and again, this also Jim had asked about the trailer. So another piece of information about the trailer. So our time frame. So let's talk time frame a little bit. We've been planning for a while, even before we made some of these decisions, and I was still trying to figure some things out. But our target has been to target March to do bales.
People keep saying funny
things. I'm sure they do.
Your mom said,
"Stop saying funny things."
Your mom said, "Are you going to add a coin slot
for the wash?" Maybe. That's a good idea.
Ooh.
So for timing, we've been targeting, or at least I was targeting for a while now, March, because now every year is different, and as people who live around here know, we've gotten very little water. Even through the monsoon season, we got kind of one good storm, maybe another one that was sort of a monsoon storm. So it didn't really work out that way this year, but the idea was if you pick March to kind of start your bale work, that gives you March, April, May, June, which are generally kind of dry months here. I mean, very little, if any, rain. So that was our target for at least walls and plaster, bale walls and plaster, because you want to be kind of dry for those things. So the idea was, as the year was ending last year, the idea was, okay, let's figure out, kind of a foundation system and get that in place by March, so that when March comes, when the magical dry window comes, we'll be ready to put bale walls up. So that's kind of our time. Unfortunately,
March is also gale force winds.
It will be windy. I forgot about that. We do tend to be very windy around here.
So what we'll have to do is all the work will have to be done very early in the morning before it gets too windy, because
we may even need to brace some things.
Got windy in the afternoon. What does that say?
But how is the property doing with the cracks in the ground and washes due to the little rainfall?
It's pretty much staying the same.
Right.
There are some places on the, he doesn't go over there as much as I do, but some of the wall has fallen.
Well, that was from basically that one storm, right? I think, but.
So I think that in the future, we will probably, after we get the house done, we may go over there and slope the wall instead of it being just a cliff that falls off.
Yeah.
and if it's sloped, and maybe we'll do some things to
I
it.
see Billy also said bathtub ? No bathtub. We didn't even want a bathtub in our house really,
I don't like
when we
to
had it. So
soak in
no idea for no
water.
No need for a bathtub.
I want a hot tub though. I want my hot tub back.
So
I miss the hot tub.
Getting back to time frame and trailer.
Okay.
So that March, I'm looking for March to June to put up bale walls and plaster. At least the outside. I'm sorry, walls, roof, and plaster, and then doors and windows. So you basically get dried in, get yourself a structure.
Very true.
At least plaster on the outside. You can then work the inside after the fact. But so that's kind of the window we're looking for, that we're targeting. So we're right now thinking and starting to take steps for a foundation, or at least a footer. And I'll talk about that in a second. We're about 40 minutes in. But in reality, what's going to happen here is, even though this is technically once you get kind of the box checked for your permits, one of your permits is to live in your trailer while you build. And it also says that once you're done building and you've occupied the house, that you won't live in the trailer anymore. Now, I guess it depends on when we make that phone call, but let's say we made that, our permits actually run out, their 3 years run out in August. Now, as everybody knows, you can actually extend those for a year if you want. It's apparently pretty easy to do. And we may or may not go that route, but let's say I chose to call, in June or July or whatever, and say, hey, I'm done. Come look at this. What's probably going to happen, really, whether I get the inspection at that point or not, the reality of what's going to happen is we'll dry everything in. We'll have a box, basically, but it won't have yet all of the things inside that it needs. So what's probably going to happen here is we're going to bounce then back and forth. We'll try and use the house as much as possible at that point, because its temperature will be better, at the very least. But the reality is, I could still see us showering, cooking over here and stuff like that. So until we get power and plumbing worked out and stuff like that. So that's another thing about the trailer. As far as what are you going to do with the trailer? Well, we're probably going to bounce back and forth for a little while we finish the inside of the house.
Price Builders.
Is there more coming
Jared, are you reading any of the questions?
I'm not, because I'm talking. I can't.
I know.
I can't talk and read. Feel free.
I know. I don't.
Feel free.
I'm sorry. I don't really have a whole lot to add, but
other than
he's the
when's
brains.
it going to be done? When's it going to be done? Why isn't it done?
He's the brains, and I'm the motivator. Anyway, there was a question, or not really a question, but a comment about if you were going to have a lot of people helping.
It depends. everybody's different. What I've learned in the couple of builds that I've done so far is
stressed out.
Yeah. So
Very
it's stressful enough
out.
Just trying to figure something out myself, right? And how I'm going to approach something or how I'm going to do something. But
I nag.
But so it's hard under those circumstances to bring in even one, let alone multiple people, because those people kind of want to be put to work, even if they're kind of cool about it or laid back about it, like, hey, whatever. But ultimately what happens is when people show up, they're kind of like, well, tell me what to do, or how can I help you? And if you don't really know in your own mind what you're doing, it can be really tough. That can be very difficult to do. So I haven't done a lot of that. When we get to things that we have a decent handle, basically the kinds of things that maybe take a long time or are sort of repetitive, I can think of one. Plastering is maybe a one of these that, we'll do it a little bit on our own, get kind of a feel for it. And then once we get comfortable with it, maybe then we bring other people in because we understand it. Okay. But as far as, building along the way and stuff, it's hard to incorporate other people when you don't even know yourself what you're doing yet. So that can be really tough. So I'm kind of on the fence about when and how much help we'll use, right? So we'll see about that. I could see plaster being something that we might want a lot of hands. But
do you remember when we helped with plaster, though? It's like everything that you mix up. And I felt bad because everything that they gave me, I would slap it on and it would fall off.
Plaster was tough.
So I expect some of that.
But so that's a little discussion on timing. Now, obviously, that's not the whole build, but again, the bulk of our work, hopefully, or I hate to say the bulk, but that window of March to June, I want to get a box with 4 walls, a roof, and at least plaster on the outside, because after that, of course, is monsoon season. And last year it hardly rained at all, but you have to sort of plan for that to be the rainy season, and that the outside of the structure could be getting hit with a good amount of rain. So you want to get that plastered. So so we've talked a little bit about size and layout and
Sorry,
and timing. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to throw this out there.
What does that say, Brian?
I've been voluntold.
What does that mean?
Volunteered, voluntold.
Voluntold. I've never heard that. Jim, are you teaching me something
that's a new word. That was Craig, by the way.
Oh, voluntold.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about here, which is one of the things that I've thought about for a long time.
Vegans.
And maybe some people out there will have some thoughts. And Craig, I've had this conversation with Craig many times, and I'll tell everybody here, just even though I'm like super anal about stuff and I like to research the crap out of stuff, and I have to feel like I know everything about something before I kind of dive into it. Strangely, even though I am that way, I still kind of go by gut feel on a lot of things. If something just doesn't feel right, or if I just don't like it, I try to stay away from it. The reason I bring that up is because I don't like the idea of concrete all that much. Now, don't get me wrong, I do use it. I mean, I used it for the posts for there are times where it just makes sense. But the reason I bring that up is because I am not a fan of concrete pads. I just am not. I don't want to do one. I don't feel great about it. I don't like it all that much.
We can help Jim sometime, right?
Sure.
You just got to tell us when you want us.
So one of the things I've been doing for months now is just kind of going through in my head the possibilities of, now we want an earthen floor inside. So that part of it, the foundation or the slab part of it, I'm okay with. I feel comfortable with saying I don't want a concrete slab, and at least our floor is going to be an earthen floor that we're going to build up. And we've watched some videos on earthen floors, and there's lots of levels and things to do to make that happen. But you still need like a footer of some sort right under those bales. You need a good foundation for those bales, not just the whole slab of the house, but under the bales, the footer that you would normally in a normal world, dig down and fill at least a foot deep of concrete and probably a foot wide. And I think that's why I call it a footer. But I'm not a fan of that either. Number one, it's not cheap. There's a lot of rebar involved and things like that. So I've been thinking about alternative ways to do that. And
tires
on the surface, there are a lot of ways, but then there are a lot of details, which I get into. And so, yeah, you can build that out of earth bags. You can build that out of tires, packed tires. You can, there's a rubble trench foundation that some people are familiar with.
Are you trying to get to the point that we're going to use tires?
Those are all nice. Yes, those are all nice. But then there's details about how to kind of tie that all together. You still need to kind of attach, in a sense, right, the bales to the ground, right? You're not just going to set them there. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to find a way to do this with packed tires because, you've seen we've done a little tire work here. We were big fans of earthships, still are big fans of earthships, even though we're not building one. I love the idea of packed tires.
And we already have a bunch of tires.
Yeah. So the current plan is to use packed tires for basically the perimeter, for the footer underneath the bales. And it's easy to say that, but then the reality is, okay, how does that actually work? So what I'm planning, and I'm open to suggestions here, but what I'm planning is a row of tires or a course of tires, packed tires. And again, these are tires packed tight. They become almost like bricks, right? So a course of packed tires kind of flush with ground level, below the ground, and top of them flush with ground level. After we build up kind of a flat base, similar to what I did with the carport. Mm-hmm. So go around the perimeter of the building, pack tires in the ground, flush with the ground, and then go one more course again, and stagger them a little bit, and go that another course, and now you've basically got a tire height, which can be in the neighborhood of about a foot. Once you pack a tire, especially, they kind of blow up a little bit. So what that does is that gets the bales about a foot off the ground, which is nice because of rain falling and things. A lot of the damage or danger to bales happens kind of at the ground where they are close to the ground. So when water hits and splashes, and of course you have eaves and things to try and minimize that, but it's still a problem area. So getting the bales off the ground is nice. So this would get them about a foot off the ground. But you do still have to kind of separate them in a sense, and you need something for them to actually sit on and tie to. So that's still going to be a sill plate, or a set of sill plates, I should say, in the case of bales. You have one kind of on the inside edge and one on the outside edge of bales, 2x4s, treated 2x4s. That if you were setting on concrete, you would put J-bolts in the concrete and then put the sill plate through that J-bolt and screw it down. But since we don't have concrete, so the question is, how do you tie a sill plate or a set of sill plates to tires? And I think what we've come up with, and it is a kind of an earthship concept, is to drive rebar fairly long so that it goes a good ways into the ground. Drive rebar through those tires, through a sill plate basically, and through those tires. So you've got a sill plate sitting on top of the tires. You drive rebar through it. That rebar that sticks out, you kind of bend it over and basically make a almost a staple out of it or something, right? So you bend it over, and you can either kind of pound it into the wood. If the wood's a little soft, you can pound it into the wood. But then we'll put another sill plate, a second sill plate basically. So our sill plate will be 2 pieces of wood, and that rebar will be kind of sandwiched in between there. And that's the mechanism to tie. And then from that point on, you go bales on top of the sill plate like you normally would. Yes.
Jim asked if are we going to build a hobbit house in the mountain. I did want to build a house in the mountain, but
that's another thing that it sounds like a nice idea, and
it's too,
others might actually do it.
It's like moon dust.
I personally don't want to touch that
really
mountain.
Squishy.
Because I'm afraid if you touch it,
it'll fall apart.
Who knows how long it would take before it just comes down on you. So that mountain is not super
stable.
Although it has held up to fairly well to weather, which I've been surprised by. I'm surprised it doesn't kind of get torn up a bit more by the weather. But
maybe someday
it does all right.
Could figure something out.
We've talked about making kind of a seating, viewing, patio-ish type area up in the mountain. I might not mind that so much, just kind of flattening out a spot and maybe having a roof come out of the mountain over that spot.
The mountain's
I still kind of like that idea, but we're not going to do a lot of building into the mountain. It just isn't that stable of a thing. Anyway, so back to the foundation. Our foundation really is going to be just a footer, and that footer is going to be made of packed tires. And the way the bales will be tied to the tires is via rebar, kind of driven through a sill plate, folded over, and then another sill plate on top. And you can do whatever you have to do, either squeeze those and either the softness of the wood will let it happen, or you could notch out kind of an area to let that rebar so that those 2 sill plates can kind of squeeze together nice and tight. But then once you've done that, now you have a sill plate or 2 sill plates traveling around the perimeter that you then set your bales on. And that also gets your bales up off the dirt. The tires are packed with dirt. So on top, in between the sill plates, you can either put rigid foam insulation or some kind of, you basically want a capillary break. You don't want water traveling back up through there. So hopefully that makes sense. That is the best way I've come up with to kind of build a sort of an alternative footer for this thing. If you see something horribly wrong with that, shout at me. Like I said, I'm just not a fan of concrete. I wanted to try and do it without it. So that's my plan right now. So that gets us, basically I've been trying to figure out how to get to the point where, okay, I just need to get to the bales because we're kind of familiar with going after that point. But there's almost just too many options for foundations and footers and things. And I was just trying to get one that made sense and that I felt like I could actually do and would be good. So I don't know if anybody's saying anything. Craig and I have had that conversation multiple times, like I said, and I think I feel fairly confident that that is a workable solution.
I think I read all the questions.
So
your mom said you're too tall for a hobbit house.
So,
that's
was
funny.
It Jim who brought that up?
Yeah,
of course it would be Jim. So
what roof material?
So the plan right now, I don't see really any. I don't. Well,
it'll be just like the shed and the carport, right?
The plan is to mimic the shed and the carport. If you don't already know, we've done 2 metal roofs on our shed and our carport. I don't really see any reason to go away from that right now. We've been fairly happy with what we've gotten. Fairly happy with the cost. It's not super cheap, but it's not. I don't think it's crazy expensive either. So, and I've been fairly happy with them. We've done them kind of two different ways. One of them on the shed. We did a sort of more traditional where there was sheathing. They're both traditional, but actual sheathing. In that case, I think it actually used plywood. You can use either plywood or OSB, but basically I sheeted the whole top of the roof and then put an underlayment, so like a water protection, and then the metal on top of that. That's what we did on the shed, and you can walk around on that probably freely, no problem.
Will we be able to use that underlayment? Somebody gave us some underlayment.
I don't think you're supposed to. We did get sort of donated. Now we may use it for some other structures, maybe, but
Okay.
we got some underlayment from some friends, kind of leftover underlayment, but it's for under shingles. It's kind of the tar paper type, and I don't think you're supposed to use that underneath a metal roof.
Water runs
I don't know
off.
how.
Yes.
How hard of a rule that is, whether that's a serious rule that you're not supposed to do that. But
Well,
I remember the metal manufacturer
we can
told me
check
to
in.
use a synthetic underlayment, which I did on the shed.
Oh.
And on the carport, if you've been watching, the carport really doesn't have any sheathing. It's really just rafters with purlins running across. Now, of course, the roof of the house, it will also be a single slope, which are all the roofs we've done have been a single slope roof. And in this case, because of the size, I won't actually just do my own, rafters. We'll actually get trusses made. So, but they'll be fairly simple trusses. I haven't settled on a slope yet, but it'll be a fairly low slope roof. Probably 1 or 2 in 12, if you know what that means. Basically that much. It's kind of rise over run, right? An inch or 2 for every 12 inches of travel. So it's not very steep. But it doesn't need to be for us. Mostly, when you have steep roofs, that's all about kind of snow not sitting on there, so it would slide off and things. But that's not a big concern for us. So. But we plan to do the roof
metal now?
kind of the same.
They said the prices are going up.
Well, I don't know. It would sit for a long time, and you kind of have to know what you want. So I don't want to jump the gun there. It is unfortunate, anybody who's out there building. It's bad timing, unfortunately. Lumber prices are through the roof. So any lumber that we use, which we won't be using a ton of lumber, again, because our walls are made of bales, and we're not even, we'll use some lumber around windows and doors and things like that, but it's what's called what's the term? Load bearing straw bale. So the bale walls are the structure, the frame. There is a non-load bearing form of straw bale, which basically you build sort of a normal stick frame, and then you just fill with straw bale for the insulative properties. But we're actually using the straw bale as the structure, so that'll cut down a lot on lumber. But windows and doors, we'll have lumber around to make window and door bucks, jams, and the roof, the trusses, and the sheathing on the roof. So much like the question about the metal and prices changing, unfortunately, we're just going to have to live with whatever lumber prices are, and that's unfortunate because they are crazy high right now. So,
maybe they'll go down.
Fingers crossed. Maybe over the next couple months, maybe they start to come back to earth. I don't know, but we're just going to have to buy our lumber. So that is what it is, and that's unfortunate because if you look back, if we had done this maybe a year ago, it could have been a lot cheaper, but we couldn't have known that. So. So water container first, Billy asked.
Yeah, that's coming.
Yeah. So like I said, in case you missed the beginning, we have two 2,600 gallon water tanks scheduled to be delivered a week from today. And that's just a start. I'm pretty sure we'll go to at least 3 and potentially even 4 of those, which would be in the neighborhood. I always thought we would be in the neighborhood of 10,000 gallons of storage. But after talking to the guy who supplies those tanks, he actually kind of talked me back from that a little bit. And his logic makes sense that, you don't really need to be able to hold all that at once because you're going to be using it too. And that's true. But at the same time, we might go from the end of one monsoon season to the beginning of the next with almost no rain. So I've been making little spreadsheets kind of estimating our water usage, just being off grid in general and being cognizant of that stuff. We do keep our water usage pretty low, but I'm guessing at some of the numbers, but it's pretty low. we might be able to get away with 3 of those tanks ultimately. But the nice thing about getting smaller tanks, we went back and forth for quite a while about
Sierra Vista.
multiple small tanks versus one large tank.
Craig.
And we've gone with multiple small tanks. It has a little bit to do with kind of placement. Again, each of these methods kind of has their own pluses and minuses. But you know, multiple tanks, if something goes wrong, you can sort of isolate that problem. If there's a leak, you can sort of isolate that problem. So
and
that's kind of what we've decided. I think it was mostly based on positioning
problems.
So we're at about an hour now. Hopefully Oasis in Sierra Vista. Yes, Craig.
I'm sleeping.
So that's
I'm
again,
ready for bed.
This was just to throw some stuff out there. Like I said, we had a lot to kind of talk about today because I'm basically telling you everything we've kind of settled on over the past that we've settled on after 2 years of thinking or 2+ years of thinking.
Jim, we already take very few showers. We take bird baths. So.
Craig asked about the price on the tanks. You know, anyone who's shopped for tanks before, you know, prices are weird on tanks especially if you look online because they don't really take into account the shipping. You know, if they're made in, if they're in Texas or California or whatever, these are big things that have to be transported. So, but what we got, I think it came to about 75 cents per gallon. That Oasis place, by the way, which, you know, I haven't finished the deal yet, so I don't know that I can jump up and down about him being the greatest and everybody should go there. But I did like his website. You know, he lists all his different tank sizes, which there are a ton of different tank sizes. And he basically breaks it down. His prices include delivery, at least for this area. He's in Sierra Vista. And he breaks that price into a price per gallon. So you can basically look, you know, the more space you buy, the bigger tank you buy, generally the better price you get per gallon. That's not always true, but that's kind of a sort of a general rule. So we ended up at about 75 cents per gallon, which I think is a pretty good price. So
did you ever answer how much they are?
I said 75 cents a gallon. Are you serious?
I don't know how much that is. I don't know what that
So they're 2,600 gallons. They're just under $2,000 a piece.
To the lay person.
The 2,600 gallon tanks. But the math comes to about 75 cents per gallon, which if you've ever shopped tanks, really getting under $1 a gallon is your big first kind of, I don't want to be over $1 a gallon. But if you buy very small tanks, you can easily be over $1 a gallon. But generally, the bigger tanks you buy, the price per gallon tends to drop. So anyway, this was just to throw a bunch of, like I said, we've been thinking about this for almost 3 years now. So these are some of the conclusions we've come to. We want to make this a regular weekly thing. I won't have as many things to kind of ramble about, hopefully, each time. But so maybe there will be a little more of the back and forth. But obviously, we'll continue putting out videos as we do things. The next thing on the list, well, aside from the water, the next thing on the list for the house is to kind of start trying to make that level pad like I did for the carport. I'll be doing it in much the same way if you saw the carport videos. So that's one of the next things we'll be doing.
So we got to move some tires.
We do that with tires, pounded tires. So there will actually be kind of 2 sets of pounded tires for the house. One that's an outer section to kind of trap the dirt in to make a nice level pad for us. And then the next piece of tires will be the actual perimeter of the house. So there will be kind of an outer thing of tires that's to trap the dirt. Whoa. And then an inner, sorry, I shook the whole thing.
The whole house.
But so
like
from week to week, we'll just talk about what we focused on that week, what we maybe learned that week or decided that week. And, you know, we'll look through these comments and see if there's anything we missed, or if anybody has any advice, comments, you know, below. Jump on some of our other videos, comment on this video, send us an email. You know, we're MidlifePrices at Gmail. You know, send us an email if you think anything I'm doing is crazy. That foundation thing or that footer thing has been driving me nuts for a long time. So this is what I've kind of settled on. I hope it works. But that's where we're at.
All right. It looks like there's a couple more comments there.
What do you got? I am due for a haircut. This is about 4 weeks. She did a great job this time, by the way. I like my hair pretty short, but even at 4 weeks, it still looks pretty good. But it is time for another one. What else you
got? I'm good. I'm ready.
Oh,
I mean, we normally. Oh, I thought there was more questions. It says maybe a video.
I'm not sure what that means.
On the water tanks.
Oh,
think
there'll
there'll be
definitely be videos on water tanks. Yeah.
We get into the bed early
It's bedtime.
because we don't really have recliners or anything in here. It's a very uncomfortable couch.
Thanks everybody for
So,
joining.
Thank you.
I hope I got
y'all.
some stuff out there that if you were wondering kind of what we're thinking, hopefully that answers some things. Again, if you have any input, let me know. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to like.
Haircut.
Thanks, Jim.
Billy.
Um,
Thanks, y'all. Billy, Craig, everyone.
but I think that's about it for us.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Good night.
We're gonna sign off. Till next week.
Good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
What's that say?